Okay, one nice thing about being here on a Thursday afternoon is no one's here. I've seen like 4 people total. Most of them were all in the parking lot, so seems like I have the falls to myself, at least for a little bit. Hello and welcome to this video, guys. As you can tell from the title, this video is about this guy. This is my broken Pentax 645N. The issue that it has, or at least the main issue that it has, is an autofocus issue. It tends to back focus like pretty severely, which essentially means if I go to focus on someone's face, instead of focusing on their face, it would focus a couple inches in front of their face, which pretty much renders the autofocus on this camera completely useless. But even though the autofocus doesn't work, all the other functions on the camera seem to work just fine. It does have a dirty viewfinder, but everything else mechanically, with the way it advances film, the way it meters, all the shutter speeds, all that stuff, all of that sounds accurate. So even though the autofocus didn't work and the viewfinder's a bit dirty, I still want to go out and shoot, and I use it as if it was a manual focus only camera. For those that might be curious, the lenses that I have with it, starting on the wide end, we have this guy, which is the 45mm f2.8. The lens I have on the camera right now is the 75mm f2.8. And finally, we have this chunker right here. This is the 120mm f4 macro. Okay, not to sound dramatic or anything, but I just came from living in Texas for like 3 years, and we didn't have anything close to this, like how pretty this is, and I'm really just starting to explore, you know. And oh man, we're also about to get quite a bit of rain for the next week. We're supposed to be raining a lot. The falls right now aren't that full, but I do imagine that within the next week or so, there'll be a lot more full. Today was kind of just a scout, like I just wanted to see what it looked like, and then, you know, again, next week I'll kind of want to bring out my large format camera, take some photos around here. But yeah, this is beautiful. This is really nice. You can kind of see them behind me. This is the scene here. I'm gonna flip the camera around so you can see. That is gorgeous. Flipping it around, see that? Jeez. So I'll be honest, I was really excited about getting this camera in, but as soon as it arrived, I immediately noticed the autofocusing issue, messaged the seller about it. He claimed that he never had that issue, but this thing has never worked properly for me. I guess in terms of the autofocus, it had never worked properly for me, so I don't know, maybe he hadn't used it in a long time and it's somehow developed an issue from sitting there, but yeah, it kind of bummed me out pretty hard whenever I got the camera and it didn't work. And so I was really thinking about selling the camera. That's kind of why I wanted to go out and shoot with it, just so I could at least make a video about the camera before I got rid of it. But as I shot it and as I started thinking about it, the direction and the path that I want to go in with my photography kind of meant that this is probably one of the better options for me in terms of a camera. Just having all the lenses already is a huge plus, and then having, you know, the autofocus to 16 frames per roll, since it's a 645 camera, is also a really huge thing. And so I ultimately decided to keep it. I will be selling the body. I do have another Pentax 645N that I ordered. It should be here tomorrow. And then, yeah, I'm just going to part out the body and continue shooting. So you will see more stuff about the 645N in the future once that new body comes in. But onto the location that I'm shooting. So I mentioned this in my last few videos, but my wife and I just moved out here to the Nashville area in Tennessee. And one thing that I really want to make sure that I'm doing is going out and exploring and seeing whatever the state can offer. And one of the biggest things that I'm excited about going and looking at are waterfalls. There are a ton of waterfalls in the state, way more than I thought. I mean, I didn't, before moving here, I didn't really think that there were any. I just didn't even, that's just not something that had crossed my mind. But I've been doing a lot more research and finding these locations, and so I'm really excited to start shooting landscape photos of these waterfalls. I kind of have an idea for like almost like a project that I want to start of like I would love to go through and document all these waterfalls, take photos of these waterfalls on film, and mostly on large format slide film, maybe large format color negative film like Ektar. But until then, I want to just make sure that I'm going out and scouting these locations so I know. And so the first place that I went to was Jackson Falls. I brought 2 rolls of Kodak Gold 200 with me. I only ended up shooting one of them. I also didn't bring a tripod. I kind of figured it was a bright enough day that I didn't need to bring a tripod, but I kind of wish I had. The falls themselves are under a lot of tree cover, and there was also some clouds in the sky, so sometimes it'd be sunny, sometimes, the clouds would cover up the sun and it would get a little bit darker where the falls were. So that meant a lot of these shots were taken at wide open apertures, as well as kind of slower shutter speeds than I would like to handhold. A couple of them were at like 1/30th of a second, which seemed to be okay with the 45mm, but I was shooting at like 1/60th of a second with the 75mm and even the 120, which again is just far too slow. One other thing is the next time I go, I want to go a little bit earlier. I think I got there a little bit before 12-ish. I think it was around 11:40, 11:45 when I started hiking. And on the hike down to the falls, I only saw 4 people, 2 groups of 2. And when I got to the base, I had the whole place to myself for probably 2 or 3 minutes. And then I started hearing people, and then from there it was just like a whole flood of families, which is totally fine to me. It's like a state park or state natural area, so everyone is free to go. But I think the next time I would go, I'd probably try to get there around 8:30 or 9-ish. So hopefully I could have the area more to myself. One, for me, so I can take photos without having people in the shots. But then on the other hand, I want to be able to not impede and disrupt other people's enjoyment. I don't want people to not be able to walk around and look around and explore because they see a guy with the camera. Now, for the shots themselves, I think they look pretty good. I think Kodak Gold 200 did a pretty good job with everything. Obviously, they are landscapes, and so maybe, like Ektar would have been better suited for this. But again, with just seeing how dark it was, I'm really glad I didn't bring a slower speed film like Ektar or some of the Provia that I have. Without a doubt, I would not have been able to take any photos if I had a slower speed film than I already had. This was a pretty simple video. It's just something that I wanted to talk about. Like I said, I kind of went out originally to just shoot with this camera before I sold it. But again, like I mentioned, I decided to keep it. But I still wanted to make the video. So if you guys have any questions about this camera or this setup or anything else that I talked about, feel free to leave it in the comment section below, or feel free to DM me on Instagram, ask away. I read every comment. I also respond to every comment. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to let me know. I have a ton of videos coming out in the very near future. We're on the road to 5K. We're almost at 4,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. So if you like this video, if you like the photos, feel free to leave a like or subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a lot. Also, if you like this video and you liked the photos you saw and you want to check out more of my work, I'll leave my Instagram on the screen right now, as well as a link to my Instagram and my website in the description below. And I think with all of that being said, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.